You've probably heard that lures catch more fishermen than fish, and after watching this video, you'll see how true that really is, because the kicker, bass are actually colorblind, at least to the same color spectrum that you and I can see, and the reason? It all comes down to the cones in their eyes. In our eyes, these cones are photoreceptor cells in the retina that allow us to see color, and with you and me, we have three different types of cones that will really allow us to be sensitive to red, green, and blue light. And together, these cones allow us to see variations all the way from red to violet. I mean, Roy G. Biv, folks, a lot of colors. But according to researchers at the University of Illinois and the University of New York, largemouth bass only have two cones in their eyes, one that is sensitive to red and one that is sensitive to green. And so they see the world in what's called dichromatic vision, meaning that their color spectrum is a lot more limited to what you and I can see. So when humans are missing that blue cone, that color blindness is actually pretty rare. It's called tritanopia, very similar to dichromatic vision, where you can only use the red and the green cone in your eye. So I found a filter, and I believe it's going to be the best that we can get in understanding how bass perceive the colors of our lures. And let me tell you what, guys, this is going to blow your mind. All right, guys, I ran these through the filter. On the left is what you are going to see with your color spectrum, and on the right, this is what bass is going to see with their two cones. As you can see, those yellows completely disappear. This is going to be a Whopper Popper by River to Sea, and this is the terminated color. So interesting to see how that shine really kind of translates over. This is a jabberjaw. I fish this a lot in the rivers, and so it's going to be interesting. I'm going to show you a crayfish a little bit later. But once again, those colors get just a bit muted. Next, this is going to be my River to Sea S Waver. Caught a lot of fish on this bad boy. Once again, those yellows disappear and those blues disappear in the eyes of a largemouth bass. I hate this lure. I don't know where I got it from. I'm only picking it because it was a really bright blue. And of course, that translates to green. That yellow line at the bottom just completely goes white. This is going to be the Strike King. The reds stays, guys. They're able to perceive red, and so anytime you're using red, that translates well. That's going to be my top water. This is bone color. Bone just turns the white in the eyes of a bass, maybe a pink hue. Interesting there. This is my green pumpkin jig, and so this is going to be my Missile D-Bomb, green pumpkin, black fleck. Not a whole lot of difference between the two. Nonetheless, there is a bit of a color change. This is my mag draft. I believe this is my 12-inch, and that's really interesting that those yellows, those blues kind of turn the green and like a pink hue. Next, we have I believe this is a lunker hunt lure. That yellow strip at the bottom completely disappears, just goes to silver. The blue kind of goes to that green hue. Next, this is going to be the Sixth Sense Trace, that bluegill color. All the colors just kind of get more boring in the midst of that. So interesting in the eyes of a bass. It's going to be a ribbit frog. People like swear, oh, chartreuse tip on the end of the worm. Guys, in the eyes of a bass, that is just white. So interesting. I don't know what type of frog this is. I only chose it because I have wild colors. Those wild colors become less wild in the eyes of a largemouth bass. Next, this is the XPS lipless crank from Bass Pro, I believe. Those purples, those bright wild neons, once again, muted. Next, we have, this is a Strike King red-eyed shad. Caught a lot of fish on this lure right here, but a lot of those colors really just turn to that silvery shine, which I, particularly like. Red, I actually ran this through the filter, folks. Red shows up red. I mean, there's not a lot of differentiation between the two there. Next, we have, this is a Creme brand fluke. Anytime you get that pearl, really just turns almost silvery white in the eyes of a bass. And next, some live baits, what a bluegill looks like. Those bright, nice, beautiful colors to you and me. Once again, muted in the eyes of the LMB. All right, next we have the rusty crayfish. These are kind of an invasive species here in Ohio. Nonetheless, not a big difference there, but I know these can change colors throughout the year, so something to take into consideration. Toads, once again, I mean, not a whole lot of difference what you and I see versus what a largemouth bass will see. Next, we have, this is a gizzard shad. So this one's interesting because this is why my mag draft actually gets hammered around here, because a lot of these gizzard shad. Next one I'll do is, how do largemouth bass like perceive humans? And so I threw my buddy Chad Hoover in there. I'm getting ready to fish a tournament against him in a few weeks. And I wanted to see how largemouth bass actually view Chad, and this is actually what showed up. And so zero threat. I mean, this is bizarre, the technology that we have today and how we can really determine how a bass sees humans as well. Just technology is just going far above and beyond. So just wild. All right, that was a whole lot of fun. But now let's talk a little bit about light when it enters water, because a lot of times when light hits water, it gets reflected, especially if there is turbulent water. And once that light is underwater, it starts to scatter and it starts getting absorbed pretty fast. Your red wavelength, yellow wavelength, your orange wavelengths, these are going to get absorbed fairly quickly, really only penetrating up to 150 feet. Your blues, your violets, those are actually going to be able to penetrate a lot deeper. That is why your ocean, when you look at it, is blue, right? That is the blue wavelength is able to go much further than any of your other colors. So for a lot of us, we're not fishing that deep, right? That's pretty deep, 150 plus feet. Just know that the deeper that your lure goes into the water, the more muted those colors are going to be perceived by those largemouth bass. So I hope that helps you when it comes to lure color selection, and there's a lot of options out there, but hopefully this dials it back for you a bit, helps you make a better choice as an angler. And if you love largemouth bass, I have a video for you, 11 largemouth bass facts that will blow your mind, already at 15,000 views. Also, I will throw that Tritonopia filter down in the links below. Have some fun with it. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you.